Welcome to the James Rice Show, a humorous, entertaining, and sometimes thought-provoking look at teaching and studying abroad. Join the conversation as James guides you through his experiences and provides insights into how to improve your English and how to improve your teaching of English. And now, here's the man you've been waiting for, James Rice.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my class. Welcome to the James Rice Show. Thank you guys so much for your warm reception to the new podcast that we're producing here. I really appreciate all of your support that you've given me, and I really want to thank you for that support. Except we have one student, Gadir, who wants to be on the show but wants me to pay her. So, Gadir, if you're listening, we'll work on that payment for you. Today's topic is, as a question for you, who do you think is the most successful non-native English speaker? Now, when we're talking about success, the most successful celebrity, musician, actor, movie star, director, Broadway star. Who do you think is the most successful non-native speaker? Take a moment, think about that. All right, I'm going to ask Stephanie here, our producer, Stephanie from the Full House. Stephanie's giving me the wave. Stephanie, who do you think? Who is the most successful non-native speaker? She is thinking, she is telling me Jackie Chan. That's a good guess, Stephanie. But incorrect. No, not Jackie Chan. Sorry. Anybody else? Anybody else? No idea. Still thinking. No idea. So not Jackie Chan, but that's a good guess. According to Pearson Education, they did a study on this through their #InspiredToLearn campaign. They did a survey, and the winner was Celine Dion. Celine Dion, yeah. She was the winner, with Shakira coming in a close second. I do have a Shakira story, but I'll save that for later. So Celine Dion is from Canada. She is French, and she sang French songs and French music in Quebec, and she only spoke French for most of her life until she became a teenager. And she used music to learn English. She hit it big. That's going to be our idiom of the week. She hit it big in Quebec, learning English when she was a teenager. She dropped out of school and spent 18 months learning English and singing in English. In her book, or maybe not her book, but in the book called Celine Dion for Keeps, Celine apparently was enrolled in Berlitz language school. She studied there 5 days a week for 9 hours a day. Now, some of you students out there are going, 9 hours a day? You know, it's hard sometimes to get you to study for 4 hours a day. But she studied 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, and she absolutely hated studying English. So that should make you feel better. But she only hated it really at the beginning. And this is quite common for people, as you know, that at the beginning when you study, sometimes it's so difficult to learn a language. And at the beginning, you really, really hate studying, and sometimes it's hard. But she went on to become one of the best students at the school. So if you are struggling right now with English and you think, I can't learn English, there is a bright side. There is an opportunity for you to get better and stay with it. It can be very, very tough at the beginning, very difficult at the beginning. So now, another interesting note that I read about Celine is that no one had confidence that Celine could speak English. No one around her, none of her family members, none of her managers, none of her musicians, they had no confidence she could speak English. And here she was studying, working hard, and people had no confidence in her ability. And I wonder if that happens to you out there? Do you feel people don't have confidence in your English? But she had confidence, and that's the difference. So her manager, Renee, who, if you know about the Celine Dion life story, Renee became her husband, and sadly he passed away. But he allowed her to do an interview in English, and he wanted to see how she would do. And Celine was perfect, and the rest is history. What I did dig up is something from the CBC. It's the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and they have one of the first, I don't know if it was the first, but one of the first interviews by Celine Dion when she was 15 years old. Let's take a listen, and you judge for yourself. How is Celine's English?
Celine is taking a crash course in English with a private tutor because she wants to record in English.
What language does he speak at home?
At home, Mr. Duval speaks French.
Speaks.
She's already mastered several key phrases.
Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. Just a moment. Don't be angry.
All right, thank you there, Stephanie. And you can hear Celine there making some pronunciation and grammar errors. She had some trouble with the H sound. She couldn't say angry. She was saying hangry, too much H. So she's obviously worked on that problem, because I don't hear that in her music. And she always forgot the S. That S. So speak, he speaks, she speaks, adding the S there at the end of some of those verbs gave Celine Dion some of the problems. And I know some of you out there have that same problem, so don't worry about it. If Celine Dion can do it, you can do it too. So I just want to speak about confidence. And if you watch the interview, and the interview with Celine will be on my website, www.thejamesriceshow.com, episode 2. You can see all of the episodes. If you tap on episode 2, you'll be able to see the entire interview from the CBC on the website. And look at her confidence. She's 15 years old, and she had a lot of confidence in her ability, even though she was still learning English. And as I mentioned before, she had a lot of pressure and a lot of people who did not believe in her English ability. And when you watch the video, you'll see that confidence. And I can't stress how important it is for you guys to feel confident in your English. Confidence is really, really important. And English, I have met some really amazing students whose English is fantastic, and they still feel that their English is not good. And I just can't believe it sometimes. So if you are listening to this podcast and you're understanding what I'm saying and following along, then give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulations. Your English is good. Okay? You guys are good. So it also got me thinking about what other celebrities could do with English, and what other celebrities are good at English, and which celebrity could speak the most languages. So I did a little research, and here are some celebrities who are multilingual. So they speak several languages. Jodie Foster speaks French, English, Italian, Spanish, and German. Wow. Mila Kunis speaks Ukrainian and English. Viggo Mortensen, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, Danish, Spanish, and English. And Audrey Hepburn, and her story is quite amazing, speaks English, Dutch, Spanish, and French. Now, which celebrity do you think can speak the most languages? We're going to answer that after this break.
The Study It textbooks are the first ever completely digital and interactive English as a second language textbook series. Once downloaded, these textbooks do not require a Wi-Fi connection. Students and teachers can use them anywhere, anytime. Used in over 40 schools, universities, and NGOs worldwide. Study It is the future of English teaching. Visit www.studyitbooks.com for more information.
So, which celebrity do you think can speak the most languages in Hollywood? What do you guys think? Any guesses out there? Stephanie, what do you think? Any guesses? She has no idea. She's still thinking about Stephanie from Full House. No, not Stephanie from Full House. Which celebrity can speak the most languages in Hollywood? Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman from Star Wars, Black Swan, Thor. I think she was Thor's girlfriend. She speaks 5 different languages. Wow. English, German, Hebrew, Spanish, and Japanese. That's interesting. So Natalie Portman is our winner today. So it also got me thinking a little bit about other celebrities who had to learn English to make it big. Who had to learn English? Which other stars out there? And a couple that came to mind, of course, Stephanie mentioned Jackie Chan. Jackie came from China, obviously was a big movie star, but he had to spend a lot of time learning English. In fact, when I did a little research on Jackie apparently hired 4 English teachers. I'm assuming they were private tutors, and he spent 9 hours a day studying English. That's incredible. Another 9 hours a day. I don't know why 9 hours is so important, but he used 4 different teachers. And I find that very interesting because I'm I support the idea of students studying with many different teachers and having a conversation experience or a conversational experience with many different teachers and many different conversational styles. This is very important. Sometimes students want to study with one teacher because they understand the teacher, or the teacher is funny, the teacher is energetic, maybe the teacher matches your personality and you feel comfortable and confident to speak with that teacher. But I really like the idea of students meeting different teachers every day, or as much as possible, many teachers different throughout the week. This is really, really important because it gives you the opportunity to practice your English with different types of people, people you like, people you love, and maybe teachers that you don't like their style so much. This is equally important. And I think it also, conversational speaking is very difficult in the real world, because usually you don't feel comfortable speaking to a person. You know, we don't like everybody we meet, and we don't connect with every person we meet in the real world. So you need to learn how to have a conversation with people maybe that you don't like, or they are not your close friends, or maybe their personality doesn't match your personality. They could be very serious, you could be very funny, or you could be very serious and they could be very funny. So you need to speak with different types of teachers. And Jackie used that style, and I was very, very impressed. Also out there, Penelope Cruz. She, of course, speaks Spanish, and she had to learn English. She also speaks Italian, which is interesting. Penelope is married to Javier Bardem, whom I love. I absolutely love Javier. Javier came to the Toronto Film Festival, and I met him on the street, and he told me I was a pretty good-looking guy. So Javier Bardem gets a big shout-out. Love Javier. He's in, if you haven't seen No Country for Old Men, you haven't seen one of the great performances ever. Javier is fantastic in that. Shakira, of course, she had to learn English. She speaks Portuguese and Arabic. That's pretty incredible. I mean, of course, she's famous for her hips, but she also is very intelligent to pick up Portuguese and Arabic. I mean, Arabic is a tough language. And of course, the big one, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, my name is Arnold. I'll be back. Okay, all right. So that's not so good. Arnold's story is kind of infamous. He came to the United States when he was 21, and he couldn't speak English, nothing at all. And he had, and still has, very, very strong accent that he was worried about. But I found a little note from his biography. Arnold's biography is called Total Recall. And I want to read a little piece from his biography because I think it's really, really important for you guys to understand how Arnold learned English. All right, so here's Arnold. I won't read it in the accent, but you can imagine he's saying it. I was not a lazy bastard, Arnold said. The first thing I told Joe Wilder, who was his gym manager when I got to California, was, I don't want to hang around. I don't want to take your money for nothing. Give me something to do where I can learn. So Joe had a store on 5th Street in Santa Monica that sold nutritional supplements and weightlifting equipment. So Arnold asked if he could work there. He wanted to help customers. He said to Joe, the owner, it helps me to learn business and practice my English, and I like dealing with people. So Arnold's strategy was, he didn't have a lot of money, I guess, and he didn't have a lot of time because he was lifting all those weights and eating all those steaks and hanging out at the beach lifting girls. He didn't have that time to go to a language school for 9 hours a day like Jackie and Celine. What he did was he worked, and he got out and onto the street and met with real people and worked and used his English in many, many different situations, and again met many different types of people. And he improved his English to the point where he became governor of California. So Arnold is a big inspiration for a lot of people. So we have Celine, Arnold, Jackie. They were all not natural English speakers, but they just worked hard. And that ends our lesson today.
It's time for James's Idiom of the Week.
Earlier in the show, I used 2 idioms. Hit it big and make it big. I said Celine Dion hit it big when she was a teenager. And hit it big, according to all the online dictionaries, means to become famous. I used make it big as well. I said, here are some celebrities who had to learn English to make it big. And make it big means to become famous. So hit it big and make it big means to become famous. But there is a slight difference in how we use these 2 idioms. Hit it big we use when we discuss a big success, usually involving money or fame. I invested in Apple and I hit it big. Celine Dion hit it big with Titanic. In this situation, Celine Dion had a very big financial success and became very famous with her Titanic song. The song exploded and made a lot of money. So she hit it big. Now let's discuss make it big. With make it big, you need to use an infinitive such as want to in front of the idiom. Jackie Chan studied English because he wanted to make it big. In this case, Jackie wanted to become famous. Or Arnold had to make it big in America. He needed to make it big. This was his desire. And Arnold hit it big with Terminator. So do you see the difference? He had to make it big or wanted to make it big. And then they hit it big with Terminator. So there's a slight difference. They both mean to become famous, but we use them in a slightly different way. And that is your idiom of the week.
Now, let's check James's inbox. Send us your questions about studying, traveling, or teaching English at www.thejamesriceshow.com. Now, James's inbox.
I want to thank everyone for sending in your emails. I was very pleased and surprised at the response. We are still new in this podcast world. So first up in the inbox is Francis from Brazil, who's living in Toronto. Francis wrote, I'm Brazilian, that has been living in Toronto for 2 years. So we would say, Francis, I am from Brazil and I have been living in Toronto for 2 years. And he said, I wish to keep living in Canada and I need to improve my English, mainly my speaking. However, all other areas are really important as well. Absolutely, you should be improving your speaking, yes, but reading and writing skills are also important, Francis. And he said, I'm glad to receive the textbooks and congratulations on our podcast. Thank you, Francis. And Francis, as I mentioned earlier, if you are listening and understanding this podcast, congratulations. Your English is wonderful. I have sent you a textbook, and I hope it helps a little bit. The textbook, by the way, is called Study It. We have created an 8-book ESL series that covers multiple levels, and we have conversation books, grammar, listening, business English, and pronunciation. They are available for people who have Apple products at this time, iPhones, iPads, MacBooks, iMacs. They are totally digital and interactive. And Francis, your book, you should have it by now. I hope you've downloaded it and enjoy. Okay, enough about my books. I also want to give a shout out to Mark Bartholomew, who wrote, I use social media to talk about the importance of reading for younger adults at school, college, and university. Great, Mark. And I want to promote our free website, www.readlistenlearn.net. which aims to offer interesting stories and articles at 5 different language levels in English from beginner to advanced. So thanks, Mark, for sharing. I am happy to share your website, www.readlistenlearn.net. Mark's website is about something that's really near and dear to my heart, reading. Mark, great job on the website. The website has options for both teachers and students. And I've checked it out, and it looks great, and I really recommend it to everybody. For students, there are 5 levels to progress through. Registering is super easy. You can use your Facebook profile. You can choose your level and the article you want to read. Mark has highlighted vocabulary on the right side of the screen. So if you're reading and you don't know a word, there is a quick definition you can check on the right side. Then you can also listen to an audio version of the book. So you can listen and read along, or read and then listen. I read an article about the samurai and about Gandhi. So the website has both fiction and non-fiction articles. For teachers, you can invite your students to join you on readlistenlearn.com and create a reading group for them. You can access information about their reading and their progress, and this is fantastic. So tracking students as they read, wonderful, fantastic tool. So you can actually see how much your student has read. Trying to push students to read more is one thing that I want to encourage all teachers and students. Reading helps you to think in English, and you don't need to study abroad. You don't need to be in a foreign country to read English. You can read English in your home country, and that's a great way to start thinking and practicing your English and growing your vocabulary. So well done, Mark, and thanks for sharing. If anyone out there has created something new for ESL learners and teachers, please send me a message. I'm happy to check it out. And if you want to be on the show too, let me know. I would love to interview educators out there to discuss their philosophies and ideas. And I would love to interview students too. Sharing is caring. So if you have any ideas or suggestions that other people could use, please send it along. You can send us a message through the website at www.thejamesriceshow.com. And that is James's inbox.
Now it's time for Teacher Talk. James's thoughts and insights into teaching international students.
I want to discuss teaching shy students. For teachers, the greatest thing a student can do is make a mistake. We love your mistakes. Why? Well, we can fix them. We can help you when you make mistakes. With shy students, it's a very tough challenge to get them to first speak in class and second, make a mistake. Over the years, I have taught many shy students, and they always present a unique challenge, but they are also my greatest joys. When I can bring them out and fill them with confidence to speak another language, it is fantastic. I lived in Japan for 3 years, where I saw and taught many shy Japanese students. Some were terrified to speak, yet in their own language, they were not shy. In fact, sometimes quite the opposite, really crazy. And you know who you are out there. I had one student from Japan who was so shy in Canada that for the first 6 months, she did not go to any school and barely left her home and never really enjoyed or was enjoying Canada. Eventually, of course, she landed in my class. Her written English and reading ability was at an advanced level. Very good. But her speaking was non-existent. She would not speak. And why the difference? Well, I'm sure many of you know that these problems are sometimes culture-based. So Japanese fear of making mistakes, Japanese politeness, and some are personality-based. So my first tip when dealing with shy students is try to find out, why are they shy? Is it personality? Is it culture? Is it fear? Is it homesickness or culture shock? As a teacher, you need to uncover why they are shy. If it is homesickness or culture shock, you may have some bigger problems on your hands, and you may need the help of administration or senior teachers. But if it is personality, if it is part of their culture, or if it's just fear, then we as teachers might be able to help them out. So once we identify the category of shyness, I look for what makes them happy, relaxed, or something that they are very good at, something where they could become an expert at in my class. And I think about, how can I build that student's trust? Because that student needs to trust me that I can take them to places maybe they haven't tried before. Believe it or not, I was once very shy, incredibly shy. I kind of hid behind a mask of humor because I was so shy to show myself. In fact, in high school, I was so shy, I would sweat like crazy. Here's an idiom for you: sweat like a pig. So sweat, a lot of water would be coming from usually under my arms. I would put paper towels and tissue paper under my arms. I would sweat so much. In fact, my mother took me to a doctor to find out if there was a physical problem with me, but they really couldn't find anything. It was psychological. I was terrified to speak in front of people. Can you believe it? Here I am doing a podcast now. But I was terrified. A few teachers pushed me through my shyness by teaching me how to be comfortable with myself in public. They actually pushed me into acting, which is kind of strange, but it worked. So here I was, kind of this really shy kid, walking on the stage and acting in high school plays, sweating like crazy. I'd have to wear the paper towel under the arms. But my teachers really believed in me, and I trusted them, and they worked hard to earn my trust. And here's an example. I went to an acting camp for 2 weeks, and we had to do an audition, a short piece for everybody to see. And I chose Shakespeare because here I am. I was an actor, and I wanted to show off my Shakespeare ability. And I did Julius Caesar, friends, Romans, countrymen, that whole speech, and I was really serious. And I was really terrible. I mean, I was really, really awful. And the teachers of the camp looked at the auditions, and they chose their students. And one teacher who was really mean, or seemed really mean, and was really not kind, and no one wanted to study with him, he chose me. And he said, I remember him saying, "I want that Shakespeare kid." So I was very worried. So he took me, and we did Shakespeare, but not like anything I had ever done. We worked on Shakespeare as a comedy. I believe it was Midsummer Night's Dream, or it might have been a different one. I can't remember the Shakespeare play. It was one from, I'm dating myself, Moonlighting. Remember that Moonlighting one? Try to remember that. He taught me how to relax. That's it. He taught me just how to relax. Shakespeare was not God. Shakespeare was not serious. Shakespeare is incredibly funny. He was the Family Guy of the 16th century. Of course, I didn't trust him. Didn't trust him at first. No way. But as we worked together, I saw how funny Shakespeare was. I saw how fun it could be to relax on stage and play with Shakespeare's lines. And I performed so well with my partner that we got a standing ovation at the end of the camp. And I became, at the camp, an expert on comedy and Shakespeare, and even an expert on acting. Everyone was so impressed. So in 2 short weeks, I went from nobody, who everyone was laughing at for Julius Caesar, my horrible Julius Caesar, to somebody who was an expert on comedy and Shakespeare. And from that moment, I was really never shy again. So we as teachers, we need to build trust with the shy students. And what is their hidden talent? For this student, this Japanese student, it was past participles. She was an expert in past participles. She knew every past participle, had them memorized. I'm sure from her Japanese schooling, they had to memorize these past participles. But her classmates had such difficulty with past participles, especially the Brazilian students and the Spanish students, really big trouble. So in these situations, sometimes the tendency of the teacher is to get students in front of the class to teach the other students. We hear that this is a good technique, that this helps a lot, and sometimes I don't mind doing that technique. But in this case, she was very shy, and if I put her in front of the class, she would just simply read from the textbook or read something she found on the internet, and it would be something that she would just want to get through quickly, and there would be no help for her. So what I did was I asked her to work one-on-one with every student in the class. We had a smaller class. It was about 10 students. With every student in the class, teaching them and getting them to memorize past participles. Every student had to be as good as her with past participles. What this created was a situation where other students in the class praised her ability, told her she was amazing, asked her for help. She went from being a nobody in the class to the hero of the class. She became the expert. The students began to rely on her, talk to her, and they drew her out of her shell. She never became super outgoing, and she was naturally polite and quiet, but after a few weeks, she was never shy again. She even started singing and dancing and participating in some of our crazy school videos in a way that I'm sure she never thought she could do. So, the 3 tips for dealing with shy students are: 1, identify the reasons behind the shyness. Why is she shy? And can you help with it? Or do you need to bring in someone from administration or someone more senior? The second tip, build trust. The student must trust you, but not rely on you for comfort. I sometimes see students and teachers, shy students, working with a teacher privately, one-on-one after class because they're too shy to ask questions in the class. That's not acceptable. All right, we want them to trust you in class. We want them to trust their student peers in class, not run to you after class. You're a busy person. You don't have time to look after every shy student and not all the students after class. We want that discussion to happen in class. So be careful that you don't spend your private time trying to help them get out of their shell too much. You might need a little bit at the beginning to build the trust. But if it's a habit, then you've created another problem. Number 3, the third tip, make them an expert. So while I can thank my teachers for their work, and they did a great job to get me out of my shyness, it really was my friends and the reaction of my friends that drew me out. And I know my teachers pushed the right buttons, but ultimately, it was my acceptance from my peers that truly brought me out of my shell. And that is my English teaching tip of the week.
Don't forget to follow James on Instagram at Connect with James for fun photos and updates on future episodes.
So thanks, everyone, for tuning in this week. As always, I am eternally grateful for your support. Don't forget to visit www.thejamesriceshow.com and tap on the episode section of the website where I have added some additional information related to the subjects we discussed this week. You can find Celine Dion's TV interview there. There's information on teaching shy students and a link to Mark's cool reading website. And don't forget, please subscribe to get your free Study It ESL textbook. All right, so thanks everyone for listening, and please remember, be crazy.
Thanks for listening to The James Rice Show. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and send us your questions or comments at www.thejamesriceshow.com.